Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dave Neal here with the Rush Hour Podcast. This afternoon, January 9th, 2025, I've got all of your stories here for your Rush Hour ride home. Updates from President Carter's funeral as Presidents Trump, Obama, and Biden squeeze into the pew. Truly funny and heartwarming speech from President Carter's grandson. You're going to want to check this out. It's actually very kind. And some updates from the local wildfires, debunking some rumors, conspiracies, and fake news, and elevating the heroes battling the blaze. Plus some updates from our audience member battling cancer, how the community is coming together for good. And breaking down the story about Twitch, his wife's new book, and why Twitch's mom is speaking out against it. And also, Special Forces premiere was last night. Travis Kelce's ex offered praise towards Taylor Swift, but not her fans. I'll get to all those stories and more coming up next on The Rush. I have some truly heartwarming stories to share about people helping people, and we're going to get to the feel-good side of the tragedy, which obviously there's a fire devastating Southern California, but the feel-good side is it really reduces us to our basic humanity, helping out. But before we get to that, a very interesting story, actually. I don't know if you've watched last night's Special Forces. I'm not going to tell you who comes or goes on it, although it was pretty interesting for our bachelorettes that are on the show, 2 bachelorettes. It was a 2-hour premiere. Travis Kelce's ex, Kayla Nicole, was on the show. Now, I got to be honest with you guys. The only thing I know about Kayla Nicole is what I've seen in like the blogosphere, which has kind of labeled her as a sort of loud-mouthed ex-girlfriend of Travis Kelce's, which of course we have to check our bias, why we feel that way based on what? The fact that Taylor Swift fans don't like her. I mean, she's a person too, right? Well, it's very clear to me that she was probably cast on this show, Special Forces, because she's Travis Kelce's ex. And to be quite honest, he and Taylor Swift are some of the biggest names in the world at this point. So she is a model and influencer, but she actually says she likes Taylor Swift despite her quote unquote love story. She's allowed, here's the problem, right? Kayla Nicole's allowed to talk about her past with Travis Kelce, just like everyone does. You go on a podcast and you talk about your exes. And she can't handle the fact that there might be a negative PR spin to it. But what we've seen so far from Special Forces is that she's not making it her identity. She's just letting people know, I'm the woman that he dated before Taylor Swift, which, people will say, well, but she's, in it for the fame and everything else. It's like, well, get in line, join the rest of us, right? All right, well, let's go to the President Carter funeral. This is a big deal. This is a huge moment to see all of the presidents getting together after such a contentious election and after all of the vitriol spewed, they're at the funeral, and I'm going to share a few clips. Stick around though for the clip I'm going to share from President Carter's grandson, Senator Jason Carter, former Georgia State Senator Jason Carter. He's the grandson of President Jimmy Carter, and he had the whole place laughing, sharing a very funny story. But first, let's go to CNN as they give live updates as the entrance before the funeral.
We see President-elect Trump and First Lady Melania Trump at the National Cathedral. Right now, we have seen, I think this is the first president that we've seen come into the room. We are still waiting, of course, for Bush and Clinton and Obama.
And they show President Trump shaking hands with Mike Pence, which is a bit, this is a guy who, this is a big deal that they're all able to put their differences aside for the funeral. Shakes hands with Mike Pence and Al Gore. So yeah, all the presidents right there, a bunch of old white men right there. And now we're going to get to what Jimmy Carter's grandson had to say. It's heartwarming as hell. I think we can all relate.
And demonstrating that they changed with the times. Eventually, he did get a cell phone, and one time he called me sort of early on in that process. And on my phone, it said, Papa Mobile. So I answered it, of course. I said, hey, Papa. He said, who's this? I said, this is Jason. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm not doing anything. You called me. He said, I didn't call you, I'm taking a picture. It was nuclear engineer, right?
And of course, we Technology, right? I mean, my stepdad, when he called, I'll get on a FaceTime call for the holidays, and my stepdad, he doesn't hear as well. It will be a FaceTime where he's supposed to look at everybody. He'll put the phone up to his ear. So it's just a video of me looking at his hairy earlobes as he talks to me. God bless people, right? Technology, it brings us together. Here's another story from the grandson of President Carter.
He spent 4 years in the governor's mansion and 4 years at the White House, but the other 92 years they spent at home in Plains, Georgia. And one of the best ways to demonstrate that they were regular folks is to take them by that home. First of all, it looks like they might have built it themselves. Second of all, my grandfather was likely to show up at the door in some 70s short shorts and Crocs. And then you'd walk in the house and it was like thousands of other grandparents' house all across the South. Fishing trophies on the walls. The refrigerator, of course, was papered with pictures of grandchildren and then great-grandchildren. Their main phone, of course, had a cord and was stuck to the wall in the kitchen, like a museum piece.
Biden's going, what are you talking about? That's just the way your phone works. It's got a cord on it.
And demonstrating their Depression-era roots, they had a little rack next to the sink where they would hang Ziploc bags to dry. And demonstrating that they changed with the times. Eventually, he did get a cell phone, and
Okay, so then he goes into that story. I mean, it's just so heartwarming in a time where we're so divided. There's so much hate ripping us apart. Here we have the grandson of a former president, bringing the crowd to tears and stitches as he just explains very common things you might, they're drying the Ziploc bags. My in-laws, my wife's mom dries the Ziploc bags, and I'm like, Jeannie, we throw them out. You know what I mean? We don't need to save everything. I got a whole closet full of plastic, and I save the plastic bags. Sure, I get it. I'm not trying to choke any turtles. I'm just saying the divide just between that generation and ours, it's very heartwarming to see. Here's a moment from the funeral there where the cameras zoom in on Trump and Obama sharing a laugh. Listen to this.
This is a remarkable a picture we're looking at here.
If you're a body language expert, they're having quite the moment. We just saw former President Bush come in. President Obama immediately stood up. Extraordinarily chatty moment between former President Trump and former President Obama. But let us remember, if you've ever actually attended one of these kinds of services, it's quiet in there. You're walked in one by one. They're awaiting the family. They're awaiting the hearse. This is a funeral after all. And so, sometimes there's a little bit of chatter, but mostly it's what you see right there. Everyone waiting for this solemn event.
Now, say what you want about Trump or Obama. I think they both have extremely great senses of humor. I do. I think that's one of the reasons Trump's about to serve his second term is that he's more of like a roast comic, but he has that sense of humor. You might say, well, that's inappropriate for president. Well, say what you want, but I think he does have that sense of humor. And whether you're friends or foes, people bond over humor. And here we see Obama and Trump having that moment. I'm not saying that's what's going to unite the country at all, but I'm not going to not tell you how I feel. And I think that there's two people there having a laugh about something. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's cold in the room. Maybe there's a joke about that. It's drafty. Who knows? All right, I'm going to get to some fire updates out of Southern California. Here we have what appears to be a couple donkeys hanging out in somebody's front lawn. I'll explain that to you and all the other feel-good stories along with tragedy that's existing right now in California. Well, there's been thousands of acres that have burned in Southern California due to the multiple wildfires raging through this crazy hellscape of a nightmare that's going on. And because of that, there's plenty of wild animals and livestock that have been abandoned, that have to evacuate on their own. And, they're being displaced. And the advice they're giving people, if you have the ability, is to leave a bucket or two of water in your lawn so that there may be animals that are exhausted traveling through. I followed a TikTok video yesterday of a guy who found a displaced skunk that he's feeding that just wound it up in his backyard. Here we have, speaking of humor, a very funny moment because, I do think humor comes from tragedy. They always say tragedy plus time. But in this case, cutting the tension with humor is a man offering advice to these donkeys and I guess a rabbit.
These fires done got all the animals coming down the hill. This rabbit don't know where he is right now. You are on Pico and La Brea.
I just, that's a perfect 8 seconds. How about one more time? These animals coming down, don't know where they are. You on Pico and La Brea.
Fires done got all the animals coming down the hill. This rabbit don't know where he is right now. You are on Pico and La Brea.
And by the way, he calls it a rabbit. I don't know if there is a rabbit, but I'm looking at a donkey. That's a donkey, right? An ass? Anyway, funny stuff. Now, in sad news with the fire, Olympic swimmer Gary Hall Jr. loses home medals in LA wildfire. You can imagine how many medals, trophies, things like that are lost. I guess his Olympic medals are gone. And, you might say, well, did they survive their medal? These things, I'm assuming they all melt, right? I'm not an expert on, a lot of them are like gold plated. I mean, what temperature do they melt? I'm not sure, but these fires burn so hot, I would not expect they'll be found. And in hindsight, it's like, well, shouldn't you have a fireproof safe? I was at Costco the other day looking at fireproof safes. And then when you read the fine print, they say fireproof up to 20 minutes. It's like, okay, that's great. If it's a 20-minute fire, these fires raged on for days. So, real sad stuff. Now, here's an interesting story. There is so much fake news that gets shared, so many conspiracy theories that get shared online. Apparently, these firefighters, people were saying they were so broke, they're so underfunded that they're using handbags to battle flames. I'm going to share with you the actual video of what was going down. They have these little canvas bags they use to transport water for smaller fires. Here it is. So it's a fireman carrying a bag, and he's throwing it onto a garbage fire. Now, you might wonder why they do this. They explain exactly why they do this. It looks like firefighters were using anything they could find, handbags included, to douse a dumpster fire. TMZ debunks the claim. LAFD officials tell TMZ handbags seen in local news reports this week are canvas bags firefighters bring on their engines for various jobs. When tackling a small trash fire like the one in this video, it's easier for them to quickly fill the bags with water and extinguish the flame than it is to haul out a hose. Yeah, you have to imagine, if you have a fire breaking out, a quick, running to it might be quicker than getting a hose, lined up and pulled out and all of that, especially when you're dealing with these fires that are breaking out all over. They can't dispatch some of the trucks fast enough to get to the fires because they're traveling with these embers in 80-mile-an-hour winds. Now, if you love humanity, don't go into the comment section of these videos, because I'm telling you, it's nonstop conspiracy theories. Maybe there is an arson that's lighting these fires. Maybe an arson started the fire, but they would have had to wait for the absolute most opportunistic moment to spread a fire, sadly, which is right now with these winds and with the fact that it hasn't rained since May. The city sadly is in a perfect storm of destruction right now. In other news, we covered Jamie Lee Curtis on Jimmy Fallon's show. Well, now here she is sharing the devastating images from her home. I mean, it looks like AI. This doesn't look real. It's just homes that are reduced to rubble and chimneys. She said, "This is the moment to reach out to anyone who lives in LA, who you think might be in some sort of traumatic shock and grief about losing their homes and the devastation of their neighborhoods and communities, and offer your hand, home, and resources. We're going to have to come together as we may never have done before in the city of angels and help each other, and we will." And there it is. Jamie Lee Curtis says, "My family is donating $1 million today to the relief efforts. We're in contact with Governor Newsom, Mayor Bass, Senator Schiff, and I will post often about where you can send needed resources to reputable agencies." Be careful when it comes to sending money, because it is times of tragedy like this where looting happens, both of people's homes, opportunistic, desperate people, and also, scam organizations. So just be careful with whoever it is you decide to donate to. We shared yesterday actor James Woods. He posted that crazy video of his pool being surrounded by flames, and he says it's all gone. And he breaks down in tears, recounting the destruction of the home in the California fire. And sadly, as he finds out, one day you're swimming in the pool and the next day it's gone. Apparently, and I'm still getting more word on the story, he also just found out that within the last few months, his fire insurance was dropped. I don't know how this can happen, folks. I don't know how we can live in a world where they just drop your fire insurance. You wouldn't need fire insurance if you didn't live in a an area that, it's needed. And look, whether or not the federal government will come in and help people rebuild their homes, I know a lot of people don't have empathy for celebrities. Oh, these are $1 million homes. But these are also homes where the family meets up. The grandkids come in to play in the pool. Like, these are people just like you and I. And it's a real sad story. So before we get to the next story about celebrity news, we've got today's sponsor, which is OneSkin. January is all about fresh starts. It's a great time to swap out the skincare products weighing your skin down in favor of a regimen scientifically proven to transform your skin at the cellular level. Something today's sponsor, OneSkin, knows all about. Their products are powered by OS1, a proprietary peptide scientifically proven to switch off the aging, dysfunctional cells that cause lines, wrinkles, and thinning skin. Ready to detox your routine, improve your skin health, and look your best? Head over to oneskin.co and use code RUSHHOUR at checkout for an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. The first ingredient's proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code RUSHHOUR at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code RUSHHOUR. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in your health and longevity of your skin. With OneSkin, your future self will thank you. We're going to move to a new story we haven't covered yet here, but it's been kind of ongoing in the celebrity culture news, which is Twitch. Twitch is a man that was, I believe he was the DJ from The Ellen Show. Well, the Today Show has been covering the response to criticism Twitch's wife is disgracing her late husband's name. Have a listen to this.
Danced his way into America's heart alongside Ellen DeGeneres and met his wife, Allison Holker, on the show, So You Think You Can Dance. They were married for a beautiful 11 years, raising 3 young children when Stephen died by suicide in December of 2022. Well, now Allison is releasing a new book. It's called Keep Dancing Through, a boss family groove that she wrote with Stephen before his passing. Allison, it's so good to see you.
It's so good to be back here.
I spoke with you back in May. Twitch has been gone for about a year now.
Yes.
And I know we talked about how grief is moment to moment. It's like waves.
Yeah.
Sometimes the wave's big, and sometimes it's small. What wave are you in as we speak today?
Right now, I'm moving into 2024 with the movement of feeling like I can keep going. Mm-hmm. For myself, but also for my kids and all the people that have followed our journey throughout the years, individually as Steve and I came together as a couple and also raising these beautiful kids.
So she's receiving backlash from the friends and family of Twitch. Now, she was married to Twitch. They've got kids. Her children are Twitch's, you know what I mean? And she's allowed to share her story. What I'm going to share next is the response by Twitch's mom and why she disapproves of this tell-all book. The tell-all book exposes the details, which is that Allison discovered, I guess, drug paraphernalia before his death and realized he had an addiction, which again, Allison's allowed to tell her story, but Twitch's mom thinks otherwise. So here is Twitch's mom defending his legacy. She released a statement. Connie Boss Alexander posted a statement to Instagram Thursday morning, writing, "The family is completely appalled. Our family is absolutely appalled by the misleading and hurtful claims made about my son, Stephen Boss. The recent publications spreading untruths about Stephen have crossed every line of decency. As his mother, I will not let these accusations go unanswered. We will not stand by while his name and legacy are tarnished. He doesn't deserve this, and the kids don't deserve this. For the last 2 years, I've remained quiet and away from the public eye to protect my family. My primary focus has been on healing and attempting to remain connected to my grandchildren. But when I read these dreadful claims about my baby, our beloved Stephen, I realize I could not stay silent any longer. Our family will ensure his name and memory are protected, and we are committed to defending his honor. Hashtag stand for Stephen." So that's from Stephen's mom, Twitch's mom. Now, look, without knowing the absolute truth, I probably lean on siding with Twitch's widow here, Allison. You know, if anyone's been in these family dynamics, you could understand there's probably a little bit of a power struggle between Twitch's blood family and his chosen family, his wife. And his wife, I mean, isn't she allowed to share her story? Why should they hide the fact that he was struggling with addiction if he was? I mean, that doesn't make him a bad person. That actually stigmatizes addiction. Addiction's a terrible thing. Tell us more about the story. He didn't just take his life and abandon his kids for no reason. There must be more to the story.
We just had so much support and love that this feels like a new chapter to show them that it's okay, and myself that it's okay.
I think that's super important. How old are your kids now?
My oldest is 15. She's here today. She's so lovely.
Yeah.
And then 7 and 4.
I remember you telling me then that you were trying to explain to them what had happened, and you were doing it kind of piecemeal. As they asked, you would answer and you would move on. Where are you now in describing kind of what happened to your kids?
I've had to have some really big, uncomfortable conversations with my kids, but I'm so proud of their journey and the way that they've handled this. It is a very public situation, and they've handled it with a lot of grace and love and support. And I've just tried to be as honest as I can, because that's what they deserve.
And you know what? I mean, that honesty could ruffle feathers with the family. What's the worst that happens? She makes money off of the book. She's raising the grandmother's grandkids, right? Twitch's mother is the grandmother to Allison's children. So isn't that good? I mean, there could be a blind spot here where I don't know something to the story, but I think that's a good thing if she's going to be honest. I doubt she would be throwing her late husband under the bus just for profits, right?
They deserve the honest truth, but at the same time, I just want them to know they're supported by everybody. And everyone wants to see them get through this journey just as much as I want to as well.
This book, Keep Dancing Through, is beautiful because this was a project with you and your husband. This is something that kind of sat on the shelf, something that you two had decided you wanted to do. So what made you decide that now was the time, and what did that feel like putting this joint project out now?
This book is a testimony to what my family was, what my family is, and what we'll still strive to be. Every single day, we wake up every morning and we just support each other. We have a lot of hard moments, but we get each other through by keep dancing through. And we use affirmations as this way of really supporting each other. And when someone's having a low, we come together to really cheer each other up.
All right. I mean, look, I'm sold. I don't know. Am I missing something? Listen, if I'm wrong on this, you guys will let me know. That's what you do. So on today's YouTube, if you didn't check this out, if you're listening to the audio only podcast or whatnot, I made a video, a plea for help. As I've shared this past week, we have an audience member of ours, a friend of our family, our community here, Jill. She's battling stage 4 cancer. She shared her story, and the recent update was that the insurance company, United Healthcare, denied her claim to get an echocardiogram, which she needs to get before she can get the next level of treatment, essentially denying her cancer treatment, which is a terrible, terrible story. In today's YouTube video, I explain all the steps we can take to help, one of which is we've asked Jill to put together an Amazon wish list, something that can just help donate to her, plus a GoFundMe that she has. The issues facing our country are way greater. I can actually equate them to kind of the wildfires, right? These wildfires pop up all over the place, and you try to put one out and another one happens. That's what GoFundMes feel like in today's world. Oh, you need help with something. Oh, now you need help with something. And I know our audience on YouTube of 80,000 people and our audience on the podcast is stretched thin to help out with everybody. And I really want to live in a country, and I aspire to live in a country that tries to take care of people in these moments of need, these critical moments of need. It's not about giving everybody everything they ever ask for. It's about that basement, that rock bottom, elevating it so it's at a place where you don't lose your life savings if you get sick, where you can get all the medical treatment that's available to you in a very prosperous country that we live in. That's the world I want to live in. I aspire to promote that world. I aspire to elevate us to live in that world, a world I really believe can be right around the corner. So if you want to donate to Jill, I've got her GoFundMe link in the bio. The money will go directly to helping her. And if you want to be a part of what I hope to be is change with the system, stick around. We're going to continue to have tough conversations about what we can do. And again, it's not a left-right issue, up versus down. The issue is all of us All of us are on the same page of this, and we need to unite and let the world know that. We are out of time. I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll have a good Friday episode. It's supposed to snow here in Nashville, so you might see me outside doing a weather report for you. We'll catch you then. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.